Hi, John.
How are you? You okay?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm not bad. I'm not bad, thank you. It's been a bit of a crazy day, so yeah, one of them, but all good. How about yourself?
I am fantastic. Where are you calling from today?
I'm in central Bedfordshire today in England. What about yourself?
I'm in Liverpool.
Nice, mate. Very nice. How's it
Yeah.
going in Liverpool? Lots of
Yeah.
culture, music, football.
Football. Yeah. Football is the main thing. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah. Welcome.
thank you.
Thank you, for coming to our podcast. I hope
Thanks,
you,
mate. It's my pleasure.
we'll start with a quick introduction about your background and role, then explore trends you are seeing. We'll talk about challenges or opportunities and wrap up with your thoughts on where things are heading. Does that flow work for you?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Thank you. Tell me about your story. How did you start doing what you do now? And what was the initial vision for your company, Jon Soul Investment?
Yeah. So I've always been interested in property, always been interested in business. I was very fortunate that my parents were quite entrepreneurial. They were business owners. A lot of my family members were also business owners as well. So grew up always around that. My father, was mainly into commercial property. He was a hairdresser by trade. Same with my mother. And basically, they sort of got into commercial property. They bought salons, restaurants. My father also got into some residential property as well. And, I was just really fortunate to sort of grow up around that environment. Very hardworking family, pillars of the community. They were providing services, i.e. hairdressing and, Italian food. My parents are Italian. So was very lucky to sort of grow up around that. And, they had a mindset, an immigrant mindset. My father come over from Italy, when he was a young man. My mother was born in the UK to Italian parents, and, they worked hard. They're hardworking people. So, very lucky to have sort of, experienced that early on. Uh, I always felt that I wanted to do my own thing, so I never wanted to go into the family business. I wanted to sort of set up on my own. So I went into the hairdressing, into that sector as a barber, but I went out and got a job for somebody else, and it's probably one of the best things that happened to me because I left school at the age of 16, went into barbering. I qualified at a very young age. I was managing a shop, and my boss, or my boss's son at the time, um, basically the son was a year older than me, and he was very, very similar to me. Wanted to, all about business, all about being an entrepreneur. He bought property at the age of 19. I followed suit. So everything he did, I just wanted to copy. And yeah, I was very lucky to be around good people. So that's kind of how I got into investment and business. But after that, left barbering, went into sales and recruitment. That I kind of got into that type of into that work. And then after that, I just wanted to do my own thing. So I, set up a cocktail bar, and then while I was setting up the cocktail bar and I was doing that for a couple of years, I just started to heavily invest in property.
That's really good. For our young generation, what do you like to share on the podcast, or what do you want people who might hire you to know?
Okay, so I think, for anyone getting into property, look, the younger the better. The longer you do it, it's all about time in the market. So, if you have a child, for example, I've got two kids, and, if my kids have got a junior ISA and they're putting money into that ISA account, the longer they're in the market, the higher chance or the more money they're gonna make. It's like property. If you buy property, bought property 20 years ago, capital appreciation, cash flow and everything else, you're always going to stay ahead of the curve. So it's always a good thing to be in the market a long time. So if you're young and you're entrepreneurial and you're into business and investment, I would always recommend getting into it younger. But, you know, like I say, there's people typically that get into property at a later age because they've got more disposable income. They've got more money in the bank, and they think, you know, they want to diversify and look at their pension. So yeah, there's no right or wrong way, but I think if you're built the way that I was built, just get into it at a young age.
Yeah, but most of people now, they are worried about changes in law. What are the biggest trends you are currently seeing in your industry, and where do you feel the biggest opportunities right now?
I think the biggest challenges at the moment are a political. I think there's a lot more red tape involved. You know, when you become a landlord, if you're a property investor that just flips properties, I suppose, you know, from a flipping point, you know, you don't have any of the sort of additional responsibility. You know, the only responsibility you've got to do as a flipper is basically do a property up, make sure it's done to a good spec, make sure it's compliant, and get it sold. If you're a property trader, you're a little bit luckier because you don't have to do some of the work that you would if you were a flipper, for example. You know, someone that buys and sells property. Um, but I think if you're a landlord, like I am, you just need to make sure that your properties are compliant, that you're constantly maintaining your properties, that you've got uh, enough cash reserves really to sustain your portfolio or your properties that you're currently, you know, own and the landlord of. So yeah, I think, you know, it's a harder market to be a landlord now. Gone are the days where you just, you know, rent a property out and knock on a door and say, you know, please pay me the rent. You know, now, like I say, everything goes through, you know, the bank. There's a paper trail with everything you do. You need to have a lot more sort of inspections, certificates, you know, everything needs to be compliant and well maintained. So, you know, it's not as lucrative as what it was, you know, once upon a time.
It's a bit of a cash flow problem now. You need to spend more on the legislation, law, certificates, safety, you know.
Yeah,
It isn't.
exactly that. So you've got to look at a strategy, you know. So with that, you know, there are newer strategies out there, or there's maybe some more lucrative strategies. So, you know, in my opinion, I'd be looking at buying, you know, freehold blocks of flats, for example, because, you know, you may have, if it's unsplit, for example, like a lot of the ones that I have in my portfolio, you have one mortgage, you might have three, four, five flats in a block. So you're getting five lots of rental income, you're not paying any bills, and you've got one mortgage to pay. So I'd be looking at different strategies like freehold blocks, actually HMOs. You've also got serviced accommodation, assisted living, or social housing. So yeah, there's a few more strategies that might uh, almost outweigh um, the benefits of you being just you know, uh, a landlord for a vanilla buy to let.
Even the HMOs, maybe you can have 10 rooms in one property, and getting 10 sort of rental, and also the maintenance is quite low than having an individual flat. So you're servicing one or two boilers. So yeah, you're right. Where do you see the disruption in terms of competitors and what they are doing in property industry?
It's all about buying right. You know, for me, you know, we specialize in below market value property. So we only buy properties at a BMV. And what I mean by that, for anyone that doesn't know about below market value, it's about getting, you know, a discount, a substantial discount on a property. So you need to sort of look at it for all of the costs associated with buying. Obviously, now you've got stamp duty at 5%, for example. You've got legal fees. If you're using bridging, you've got in and out fees and, you know, and all that sort of jazz. So, you know, it's all about buying, I suppose, really at the right price. We try to factor in all of the costs, and we usually look at around, ideally, you want to be looking at about 30 to 35% below market value against what it's worth in its current condition. That's
Yeah, but
how we do a lot of our business, and it means that we can move a lot faster, and we just, you know, we take each deal into our stride. But you know, obviously, there's no right and wrong way. You know, for us, we buy it at the right price below market value. But if you've got someone that's got maybe a lot of a lot of money, sat in their bank, and they just want to park it into assets, then, they can just go down the traditional route, which is, 25% deposit, and, you just, hold them for the long term, and, you kind of just build up the capital appreciation.
To buy below market, you must need lots of capital reserve, to buy straight away and just get the pay off the person. But why would someone sell below market when they can sell, on the normal market? It must be a reason, either divorce or either inherited a property. So you must be having a cash flow problem. If for example you find five properties, how are you going to fund them?
That's a good
Must
question, but I actually disagree with the fact of what you've said there in respect of uh, a cash flow problem, or needing, excessive amounts of money. When you're buying below market value at the right price, you're not putting as much money in. If anything, you're putting virtually no money, because the discount is your equity. So what you do is, either you've got cash. Now, if you've got cash, um, and excessive amounts of cash available in your savings, what you could do is go out and buy for cash, and it's cheaper. Obviously, if you've got your own money in your bank account, you can make a cash offer. You get it, 35% BMV. And then what you'd do is you'd refinance out onto a buy to let product. A lot of the way we do business is, a combination, but mainly really we use a lot of lending, so we'll go out to a bridging company that we've got good relationship with. They know who we are, what we do. They've seen our portfolio. They've seen our CVs. They know that we're good for it. So in some cases, when you're getting that type of discount, they'll actually fully fund the deal.
Okay. So as long as, yeah, you have cash available to
Not
to
necessarily. You can buy property with no money. So I've done deals where I put no money in, and the
wow.
bank have lent me all of the money,
It must be
including stamp duty, legals, lease extension if you're doing it lease extension. So I've done a couple of deals where I actually got paid £20,000 to buy a deal.
wow. That is fantastic. And when was it? Is it in this market or a few years back?
It was actually 2024, so it's last year.
2024. Fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm
You,
not
you
I'm not one of them guys that done it 20 years ago and says, "Oh yeah, I'd
yeah.
done a deal, and it was different times." I did that last year. I did that on a deal last year, and I think I might have refinanced it. It would have been back end of last year, refinanced it this year. So it just goes to show, I got paid £20,000. I probably would have got
Wow.
paid maybe 30. Uh, the only reason I got paid 20 is because I was stuck on a bridging loan. And that was due to the solicitor that I used, who was a substitute solicitor. My one that I usually use was on holiday, and she didn't expedite my ownership on land registry, which meant that I had to wait for land registry to update the details for me to get off the bridging loan. Otherwise, I probably would have got myself another £10,000, or slightly more.
Having those deals, where do you see the biggest challenge to growth right now? Or where are the biggest bottlenecks at the moment?
Bottlenecks.
Yeah.
I think, the biggest bottlenecks at the moment, and like I say, we work with investors that have registered with us for our sourcing services. Obviously, we do deal with, we're active buyers ourselves, but we do sell to clients. We do specialize in below market value, and we try to help people out that are looking to scale up. So what I would say is the biggest bottlenecks that I've come across, and funny enough, today I had a conversation with one of our clients, is that it's more of a buyer's market at the moment. So, if you're into selling property, it can take a lot longer for you to sell a property. It's okay if you're looking at first time buyer stuff, so smaller prices. But if you start going into the bigger properties, 350,000 plus, they can sit on the market a lot longer, because it's just become a lot harder, and lenders have become a little bit more stringent as well. So, they're really sort of, lenders are doing a lot more due diligence on buyers now who are looking to get a mortgage and a family, to buy a family home. So, my sort of thing would be, if you're looking to flip, you want to be looking at sort of first time buyer stuff, low ticket, low entry, where it's gonna go out to the masses, you know. I
Oh,
think it's
okay. So,
sometimes, like, but that's it all depends on the demographics of the area, the location. If there's a buyer demand, if you're talking, let's say, for example, say County Durham, for example, there's going to be certain towns, very small towns in County Durham that may not have a demand for buyers. It might be more a renters market. You just have to sort of weigh in really, basically what the exit is from day one. You can buy a property that you think is going to be a great flip or a quick sell, but in some cases you struggle to sell it because there's no market for it.
yeah, yeah, that's a big problem with the thing. Or in that case, maybe you can raise remortgage, or maybe get your money out if like you said, you got paid for buying a property. Maybe you just hold it for a few years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Look, when we're doing it, we don't really sell properties. It's not really our market. We buy and hold. That's what we
That
do.
that is the best
Um,
way. Yeah.
yeah, I prefer it because the exit's a lot easier. Um, if you're looking to sell a property, I think trading's different, and there's an art to trading. If you're buying a property, for example, a probate, and it's quite dilapidated and old, you could potentially go in, rip all the carpets out, take the furniture out, stick it in an auction, and it will sell, and you'll get a good margin on it. But let's say, for example, you're trying to do a flip, you've got to really make sure that you're doing it to a really good spec in order for it to sell quickly. I
Okay.
think refinancing, like I say, is always the safest bet because you're not looking for a seller, you're not looking for a buyer, should I say. You're looking straight away, whether you've got it on a bridging loan, via bridging finance, or whether you've got it for cash, you can refinance quickly, and get yourself,
Okay. So
basically get it rented out and just, if you get equity, pull the equity out and good, jobs are good. And
so pay off the bridging, get the equity out, and move on. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Buy
exactly it.
buy new one. Yeah. Okay. What is it not working at the level it truly could be or should be in your business? What is it having problems right now? Is
In the
is the
business,
Yeah.
I would probably say workload. We do, our business is quite niche. It's a one-stop shop for anyone that wants to get into property investment or is an active investor. Um, so we basically offer three services. We've got a mentorship and training side of the business, mainly
Okay.
mentorship. Really, that's kind of our forte, where we get in the trenches with you and we help you navigate your way through all of the challenges that property brings. We analyze deals for you. We tell you what you need to be offering properties at. We support you with all of that, your exit, your strategy, what you need to do. So we've got the mentorship side, then we've got the letting agency side. So we've got our own letting agency because of the size of the portfolio, and it made sense. Um, which, obviously we're managing property nationwide at as little as 5%, which is, extremely competitive. I don't think there's many agents out there doing it for that type of management fee. And then we've got our deal sourcing business. I'd probably say that our biggest challenge at the moment is trying to just ensure that we can do all of that with the staff that we've got at the moment. Obviously we're quite a small team. We're looking to scale. So yeah, it sometimes can be a challenge if we get so many maintenance issues come in, so many properties that we're trying to sell and source on, properties that we're buying, refinancing, and also mentees that we're training. So we do it. Don't get me wrong, we do it very well, but it sometimes can be a bit of a nightmare because we just don't know what we're dealing with on a daily basis.
It's a lot of paperwork, to keep the record of the all certification, all the, sending your broker the bank statements, uh,
It's hard work.
valuation. Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
there's a lot involved, like I'm quite fortunate. I've been investing in property now for 18 years. So, and obviously I've been in property full time for about 4 years. Um, I've got quite an addictive personality. So whatever I do, I don't do by halves. So I've dedicated my life now to property investment. So I kind of I'm just geared up. I know kind of the challenges, you know, I know how to do deals. I know how to navigate my way through problems that might come up. So I'm quite fortunate, but obviously, you know, we've got a team of people within the office, working with me, and sometimes it's trying to bring them up to speed as well, and just delegating, really getting them to do some of the work that you know, that I don't really need to do, because I'd rather be working on, you know, mentees and their journey, sourcing deals or buying deals, you know, analyzing deals.
Looking ahead, in 6 to 12 months, where do you want to uh, go, and what are the key aspirations for the business?
I think one of my where I want to be in you know, in 8 to 12 months, I'd like to go on holiday and not take my phone with me, is one of the
That's great.
things. You know, even when I go on holiday, you know, I get sort of sucked into, you know, checking rents, reconciling rents, dealing with any inquiry, maybe working on deals. So yeah, I think that's why we've now got a team in house that we're trying to get everybody trained up, and, you know, just trying to streamline, really. But, you know, where do we see ourselves? We want to keep growing. You know, we still want to keep buying properties. We're still actively, you know, buying, investing. I think you need to buy in every terrain, you know, whether it's good or bad. You just need to buy right, you know, buy at the right price, and make sure that you're covering yourself for any dips in the market, or any new things that could trigger maybe a bit of a dip or a crash. So yeah, it's all about buying at the right price.
Fantastic. Where can listeners find you and learn more about your company?
I'd probably say Facebook. You know, you've got Jon Soul Property, which is obviously, you know, our business page. Um, Name's Jon Solitro, so I think it is on Facebook. I'm pretty sure it's Jon Solitro. So and that's Jon, so without the H. So and
Cool.
surname is Solitro. So anyone can find me on Facebook if they're on that. I'm on the Instagram as well, Jon Soul Property. Um, our website's Jon Soul Property. So yeah, you know, LinkedIn, I've got quite a good presence on there. So yeah, just social media, really.
Thank you so much for your time, for the conversation. It's been so nice of hearing your success story. Just about one thing, you said you wanted to turn off your phone while you are going abroad or you're going to holiday. Uh, do you think of any solution? Have you thought of any solution for that?
Well, yeah, like I say, the solution is that we've now got a team, you know, in place. Obviously, I've got a business partner who joined me last year. So obviously he's still quite new to property. Obviously, he's not been in it as long as I have. But he's very keen, he's very eager, passionate. So, you know, he's learning. We've got another member of staff who's into property as well. She's got 4 under her belt at the moment, and is looking, you know, to scale up. So she's also come in, and then we've got another member of staff who's really new to property. He's never done it before. He's actually an ex-barber, so he used to cut hair like I did. And I've known him for many years, family friend, and you know, he's quite keen. So yeah, just having people around, really. You know, at the end of the day, I did a lot of this before, you know, on my own, sometimes with the assistance, or mainly with the assistance of a VA or a couple of VAs. But yeah, you can't do it alone. You know, you've got to get a team in, and work with people, because there's no point of you trying to kill yourself and do 80-hour weeks, and, you know, be annoyed with everybody, and you come home and you're like a zombie, you just want to go straight to bed, you know. So yeah, I think it's all about, you know, that's the change for me. It's about now bringing people in to help, because I can't do it alone.
It's called, working. Uh, business should work for you. You shouldn't be in the business. When once you are
100%.
successful.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You know, it's like anything, you know, if you love art, and you like a piece of art, you know, you can't really, I suppose, you can't really admire the art if you're that close to it. Do you know,
Yeah.
where if you step back, you can all of a sudden you see the bigger picture, and you get to see, you get to admire it, you know, for what it is. So it's the same with the business, really. You know, I want to start stepping, I don't want to step back too far back, because I still have really good relationships with our investor clients, with our um, tenants and lords. I like what I do. I'm passionate, but I just want to be spending more time doing, steering the business and analysing and negotiating and speaking to vendors and speaking to investor clients, people that are looking to scale up, and mentees, helping them.
Thank you so much. It's been so kind of you. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Cheers.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Hi,